Hi, happy springtime, happy Taurus season, happy birthday to all of you lovely Taurus people. I have so many amazing Taurus people in my life. I hope everybody's enjoying their moment. I'm Dr. Cassandra. I am here to bring you a Taurus season wellness guide so that we can look at this energy, see how it shows up in nature, see how it shows up in our lives, see how it's showing up this eclipse season, and how to work with it for optimum health and wellness. All right, I have a little presentation I'm going to show you. Here we go. All right, so this year, 2023, Taurus started April 20th and it's ending on May 20th. Tomorrow, May 5th, we have a lunar eclipse. The sun is in Taurus, the moon is in Scorpio. The nodes of the moon are in these signs and they're about to leave and move on. So this is the last eclipse in this while the nodes of the moon are here. So there is going to be another eclipse in these signs in the fall, but the nodes will have already shifted and moved. So this is a time, so Taurus is values, Scorpio is shared values. We look at the Taurus time of year and, the earth is fertile, it's vibrant, the flowers are blooming there, there's a lot of growth. And then we look at the Scorpio time of year and it's just past the equinox. Things are winding down. We're figuring out how we are going to plan, how we're going to manage the rest of the year as the world falls into darkness and decay. So there are two sides of the same coin. And so we're working with those energies wherever they happen to be in our charts right now. Lots of unexpected things happening. I know that this has certainly happened for me over these last 18 months as a Scorpio rising person. So yeah, if you don't know about your chart, if you don't know your rising sign, and if you like some help looking for that, feel free to reach out and I'll help you figure out your chart. So the next moon coming up, the new moon is going to be Taurus, right? So that's why we can't see the light of the moon because it's, it's not over here. Over here. So it's the dark moon, but it's right around then where we're going to start feeling the effects of this full moon eclipse. So again, we're going to be meditating on values, our own commitments and longevity, and how we are showing up in the world. So, during eclipse season, I've heard folks say that it's not the best time necessarily to manifest what you want from the universe. It is a good time, however, to check in and say, how am I showing up? Like, how am I coming through? Am I giving value to the universe? And again, this is the sign of values. This is the sign of commitment. This is the sign of showing up and groundedness. So this is a really good time to meditate on those qualities and to see how they're showing up in your life. All right, so the Taurus qualities. So Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty, love, luck, friendship, abundance. It is the benefic of the night sect. She is, she's here to make the dreams come true, to make the poetry, to make the art, and there's also a very terrestrial quality when Venus is in Taurus. It's very earthy, very earthly. So the polarity, as I said, is in Scorpio. This is a yin, or feminine element, or feminine sign in the earth element, fixed. So fixed earth. That is the most grounded sign of the zodiac, the most material, the most physical sign of the zodiac. And I think that the anatomy is really interesting because the anatomy, so all of these zodiac signs correspond with a part of the body. So we start with Aries and then we work our way down until Pisces has the feet. And what's interesting about Taurus is that we have the mandible, so the lower jaw, right? And then the neck. The neck contains all of these like very vulnerable, precarious elements, the little spine vertebra stacked on top of each other, the spinal cord. It's also delicate that some of the cranial nerves are coming through there. You've got arteries and veins and the esophagus, the trachea, like so many life-sustaining elements, like in this tiny little portion. And then you've got all of this like rich musculature, which we'll take a look at in a minute, that is protecting it, right? And then it's making this head stable. So yeah, that's Taurus with the neck and the mandible and the shoulders. The thyroid, the thyroid and the vagus nerve as well. And we'll take a little look at the vagus nerve in a minute. It is the 10th cranial nerve, and it innervates so many different parts of the body and does so many different things and so many interesting functions. But then when you look at them all holistically and you look at these Taurian qualities, it really makes a lot of sense. So I want all of the Taurus people to notice that there is zero mention of the word stubborn here in this presentation. We're just not going to do that. There are so many beautiful ways to describe this energy. And I think that the word that people might want to replace with stubborn is committed. I feel like commitment is such a wonderful word for this energy, because yes, Taurus takes its time, but then when they pick a pony, like they're seeing it all the way to the finish line. Investment is a good word for this sign because it has the connotation of monetary value, material value or material worth or some kind of value. A seed, let's say, that you put in the ground, right? And that lines up with this time of year. It's a planting time, it's a sowing time. So you sow and then you reap. So you take your time, you take something of value, and you wait on it. You commit and you wait, and then you enjoy the fruits. You enjoy, the abundance that results from your patience. So, this is a stable sign. It's a strong sign. It's like a work hard, play hard energy. And I hear a lot of people like calling Taurus lazy or using that word with Taurus. And it's, my Taurus people are some of the hardest working people that I know. And it's that investment. It's what you sow, then you reap. And then when they reap, Taurus really likes to enjoy themselves because again, this is the most material. This is the most grounded sign. It is the most feeling sign. So it's tactile, it's tangible, it's sensorial, it's sensory, it's sensual. It's all the physical things. They do need their creature comforts. They do need their rest, right? We all do, right? So that's that work hard, play hard energy. And so this is that Taurus and the Taurus anatomy I was mentioning before with all of this rich musculature here in the neck. And again, so many vulnerable elements here, like the thyroid, the carotid arteries, the jugular veins, the esophagus, the trachea, right? Any one of those goes wrong and it's like party's over, right? But Taurus is very protective of that. And then also converts this, this zone, this this very vulnerable zone into an erogenous zone, right? And also into like a zone of stability for this head to do all that it's got to do. So then we've got, here is something that's really interesting. There are two different cranial nerves that go through the Taurus anatomy. And the cranial nerves, they're few. They come right out of the brainstem. They have sometimes very specific functions. I think like a third of them or a quarter of them are just for the eyes. One of them is solely in charge of you rolling your eyes. Like that's all that cranial nerve does. One of the more complicated ones is the vagus nerve. And then this trigeminal nerve, I thought it was interesting to mention before we get into before we get to the heart of the vagus nerve. This trigeminal nerve also innervates this area. And there are three branches. So the ophthalmic, the maxillary, and the mandibular. Now, these two are sensory only, and they are in the Aries portion of the head, whereas this one is sensory motor. It's afferent and efferent. And this is in the Taurus portion of the body. So not only is it feeling, but it's doing. And I thought that was just such a great parallel there with Taurus energy, because Taurus is feeling. It is the most feeling of the physical world. The most sensorial experience is that of Taurus. So yes, Pisces feels everything. They even feel things that are like not theirs. But as far as like the tactile experience of the living world, that's Taurus, baby. So I thought it was just so interesting that like this one nerve was the one doing something different. And it is also in this zone of chewing, right? Taurus is known for their love affair with food. And I even put the little veggies there that she's looking at. But yeah, so much of this Taurus zone is responsible for chewing. And so now we're looking at the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is super interesting. It is related with the parasympathetic nervous system, right? And so the sympathetic nervous system is fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And the parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. And what two words are more Taurian than these? I do not know, but that's the name of the game: rest and digest. And traditionally in our communities, in the way that we were meant to live as human beings, like stress would come in the form of a fire, an accident, a flood, predator animal like a bear, just shows up. And at that point, our survival mechanism is in place so that all of the blood leaves the center of the body and goes to the extremities. This is going to help us run from whatever threat that is. And it helps us get away, and it helps us live another day. But in a modern society, we can't escape our stresses. And our stresses do not come in the form of an occasional disturbance. They are constant. They are, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to be able to pay my bills? They come in the form of systemic oppression. They come in just so many tensions and forms and ways that we live our lives. It's a life-threatening amount of stress that we experience every day, or it's a stress that interferes with our basic needs or threatens our basic needs and our survival. And Taurus is so very concentrated on that. And so this vagus nerve, so what happens is that we can get into a state of just kind of getting used to like living on the edge, like living in a constant state of stress, so that in order to like trigger these responses, because they're so natural for us, it becomes super easy. and our threshold for stress becomes lowered. And then we're always living in this panicked state, which then has many repercussions for our health. It creates a pro-inflammatory state. It can lead to leaky gut. It can lead to anxiety, depression, and other mood imbalances. So it's very important for us to develop strategies for how to counteract an unnatural amount of stress so that we can enjoy a relatively natural amount of health. So that's what Taurus does. And in the in a little bit, we'll talk about ways that we can stimulate this vagus nerve. But that's essentially what it does in terms of the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's like how it exists and why it exists. And it innervates all of the different parts of the body that correspond with these stress responses, as we'll see in a minute. But some other things that it does that's kind of cute and interesting in Taurian is the sensory portion of the external ear, right? So random, but like how erogenous a zone or how sensitive an area, if you had to pick a planet that like this would be associated with, it's Venus, right? And it's the tactile sensory experience, the taste, the motor and sensory functions of the pharynx, the larynx, all the thoracic organs. So the heart and the lungs. Oh, here it is right here. The heart, the lungs, the spleen, the kidneys, the colon, the abdominal organs, all the organs of digestion, the liver. So we can see here how many different organs are involved with this, with this nerve, but then also how many are impacted by stress, right? You're stressed and your heart rate goes up, your breathing rate goes up. You could get knots in your stomach. But really when we say like, trust your gut, got butterflies in my stomach, I could feel it in my stomach, or made my stomach drop. These are all expressions that are very old, but then they come from something. They come from our more traditional understanding of the body and how it works and relates with nature. So we do definitely have a very physical, experiential, interaction with stress. And then finally, the vagus nerve also innervates that enteric nervous system, which is the gut-brain mechanism. All right, so ways that we can tone the vagus nerve. And there are so many people really finding a lot of help, a lot of comfort, a lot of resolution with a lot of these very simple techniques. Something that's very on trend right now is Washa. Washa is just really, you don't need like a crystal piece. You can do it with your hands. There are other tools too. Some of them have become very affordable. And so that's the thing. We'll just want to make sure that we're, it's basically just like massaging the neck, but very carefully and only one side at a time, right? You don't want to put pressure on both carotid arteries at the time, because if you do, you'll lose consciousness. You won't have any blood to your brain. So, yeah, you can put something on like an oil or a serum, and then, take a little stone, and you don't want to have it up perpendicular. You want to have it flush, almost as flat as it can be. And then like gentle gliding strokes. Here. Gentle gliding strokes. And if you do this, you can feel it's like very calming right away. You also get Thyroid, again, you don't want to press. It's just very light. Or again, you could even do it with your hands. And it makes for a very relaxing experience, but it's not just relaxing like, you know, kicking up your feet or like, I don't know, whatever society tries to tell us is trivial about relaxation. These are really wonderful self-healing therapies that you can do that really do tone this very important network of information in terms of that vagus nerve. And so these small gestures just really inform wellness and inform this experience of, of peace and balance overall. So yeah, you can do gua sha. You can do humming and gargling, and that's something that you don't even necessarily need to stop what you're doing or go and, look for the little thing. You can just hum. Lower tones are going to be even more relaxing. And the more you do it, the more your throat will relax and probably allow you to sing lower notes to a certain point. Gargling is great for those who are doing oil pulling in the morning. This is the best way to start the day. You do a little bit of oil pulling and then you gargle the oil. And I like to do 2 gargles. One is one swish for the oil pulling and then 1 gargle so that whatever you're working on here in the front of the mouth, you're not then, sitting in the back of your oropharynx and gargling that, putting that in that sensitive area there. So like, let's say that you're pulling materials and you've got cavities or, so bacteria or metals or whatever, you want to get rid of that first and then do a second round with clean oil and then, do your gargling. So humming, gargling, exercising, stretching. Stretching is really great for this. And then it kind of ends up becoming like a feedback thing where the more you do it, the more you relax, and the more you relax, the better you stretch. Meditation, breath work, yoga, qigong, grounding, just even going outside and like standing on the earth with bare feet, not on a floor, on the earth. On a floor, I would say always keep your feet covered. But on the earth, that's the time where we want to let our feet connect with that. And notice all of these are like the slow paced grounding modalities that really correspond with this Taurus energy. Breath work is something that is fantastic for toning the vagus nerve. There's something called square breathing. If you're not familiar with it, it's 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. You can do it slower than that. And then 4 counts hold. All right. So you can do alternate nostril breathing too, which is in on this side, out on this side, in on this side again, and out on this side. And you can do that for a few minutes. It's really fantastic. It's very calming. And it's not just like, oh, I feel better right now. It really like tonifies. Like when I'm saying, it's not like vagus nerve rescue. It's vagus nerve toning. But these breathing exercises are good both acutely and long term. So you can do them right now. And if you're, feeling anxious or having a panic attack, they will work. But then they will also help long term in reducing anxiety and reducing the incidence of panic attacks. The other thing that's great for this is, in establishing these in establishing a regularity that your body can count on is routine. Routine is really number one. Like if your body can anticipate, I'm going to be hungry right now. Let me get these, or I'm about to eat. Let me get these digestive hormones happening. And then you can anticipate it and actually be hungry for that meal or not get hungry between meals because everything is, or not feel this sort of scarcity or desperation that goes along with, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten. Like now I have to drop everything I'm doing and do the same. But when we can develop this flow, like, okay, I'm eating at 8 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m. It makes life a lot easier. It makes the body run a lot more optimally. And then we take this and we apply it to sleep. I am going to bed at, 10 o'clock and I'm getting up at 6. And if you do this every day, even on the, if you do it every day, your body can anticipate it. Your body can make enough melatonin and serotonin. And just keep up with these cycles. So cycles, rhythms, these are so important for the body and for, our terrestrial existence. All right. Working with the Taurus energy. So again, May 5th tomorrow is the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So again, if you know your rising sign, you'll know where you have Taurus and Scorpio respectively in your charts. If you don't know what your rising sign is, but you know what time you were born, please feel free to reach out and we'll figure all of that out. I'll do up a little chart for you, and then you can start to work with this energy as it applies to you specifically. There are 12 houses in a natal chart, and for each person, Taurus is somewhere. We have each of the 12 signs in our chart. So, and for each person, they show up in different ways. So knowing where yours is really great, because then you can work at it with it. For instance, I'm a Scorpio rising, and I have Taurus on the descendant. So in my first house is Scorpio, and in my 7th house is Taurus. First house is the house of self. So, my appearance, how others see me, my body, how I move the world, like the lens through which I see this life. Whereas my 7th house is my descendant. So Taurus is how I show up in partnership. And it's also how the partners that I attract, right? Whereas somebody with a Taurus rising, they would then embody those Taurus qualities, and they would have Scorpio on the descendant, and they would either show up that way or attract those partners in a relationship. And then of course there's everybody in between. So it's really great knowing where you have each energy in each house. And so this time of year, like I said, we're going to focus on values. Our value, our internal value is like what's in our heart. Remember, at the end of the day, this is a Venusian energy. So the values in our hearts, and then also the value that we are giving, the value that we're receiving, and the value that we're giving. We want to meditate on those things, and we want to especially pay attention to how that has shown up and where that has shown up in our lives over the last 18 months. So since December of 2021. And we'll look at these patterns. Let's look at how we've grown and changed. And then this is the, whatever was started then or whatever's going on then, like, let's check in and see how that's going. And that's been that, nodal transition, and how that shows up in our lives. So the other things that we're working with are, let's use this moment. This is like Taurus is a very, gather ye rosebuds while you may, stop and smell the flowers energy. So we want to do that. We want to rest and digest. We want to take our time. We want to be mindful. We want to be patient. We want to chew our food. We want to forgive. This is the time for that. This is a time of abundance, generosity, gratitude. Just even gratitude for this physical existence. Like, this is a miracle. It's beautiful. The older I get, the more sentimental I am about it. So in In Ayurveda, the physical body is called the food body, right? And this is Taurus, right? This is this physical existence. This is this physical manifestation. And what's it built on? It's built on food. It's built on everything that our mothers ate and then that we ate from the time we were nothing until now. And if we stopped eating, this body would cease to exist and it would go away. Or I should say it would deteriorate until it stopped existing. So this body needs food, and this physical existence needs food. And it's also great, this is something pretty obvious, but like what's in season right now? Try to eat what's in season. Oh, in Cuba right now, there are mangoes. In Miami, there's mangoes. Here in Tampa, there's mangoes. People are going crazy, stopping on the side of the road and like grabbing the mangoes that are falling from people's trees that are hanging over the fence onto the street. It's pretty joyful, it's pretty silly, and it's this annual thing. And now it's like Taurus season for me. It's like super bold, ambitious move that like I'm just gonna stop traffic right now because that mango is so important and it's so wonderful and so fresh. So seasonal foods, fresh foods. There's so many fruits right now, fruits and berries. So yeah, just try to live in those seasons of nature. It just makes everything so much more wonderful. And then I wanted to say that the Taurus anatomy lines up with the throat chakra, which is will, right? And Taurus certainly has a lot of that. But then also it corresponds with the planet Venus, and that's the heart chakra. So if you want to do work with these two areas, will and with love, then this is a beautiful time for that. And as far as colors go, my Reiki teacher, Tanya Morris, taught me that the green heart chakra energy is love for others. And then the pink heart chakra energy is self-love, which is why I wanted to work with these colors today. And I wish everyone a wonderful time working with those. And if you're looking for more thoughts, guidance, insights on how to do spiritual work or how to work with these energies, feel free to reach out there as well. I want to talk a little bit more about Ayurveda in that Taurus and Kapha energies are very much aligned. They are both earth element associated. They're both associated with the springtime, with fertility, right? The earth is very fertile right now. With Venus, with Venusian energy, with sex, right? Kapha is the anabolic energy, the building energy in Ayurveda. But it can also, have some inertia, right? If there's a sign that's associated, or if there's a dosha that's associated with like laziness or stuck in the mud kind of energies, it's kapha. And something that I think is interesting too in Ayurveda, kapha is also associated with the cow, and of course Taurus is. And right now I think we're all pretty aware that there is a age of Aquarius. Well, that is based on the precession of the equinoxes. That means that the constellations also move in the sky, albeit very slowly. And so each sign moves into another sign every 2,000 years. So originally, our seasonal astrology lined up with certain constellations, and it doesn't anymore. And that's because of this precession of the equinox. So right now it is the age of Aquarius. Before that, it was the age of Pisces. During the age of Pisces, we had a lot of, travel by sea, really changing the world. We had the Christian religion spread around the world, and the symbol there is a fish. And it is also, more of a transcendent type of religion than what we had seen before in the world. And then, so before that was Aries, the age of Aries. And here we see like where a lot of cultures are like sacrificing rams, lambs, Lamb of God, that kind of thing, right? And then now let's look at Taurus energy. So before, if we look at the Abrahamic religions, and how they were using, lambs and rams as symbology. If we look toward the beginning, at the story of Moses leaving Egypt, at some point going up the mountain, getting the 10 Commandments and coming down, and everybody had made this golden calf, right? And the golden calf is a reference to the old ways, to their old gods, right? So Elohim was the original, deity that was then replaced by the father figure, monotheistic, classic Abrahamic religion. So Elohim was a cow, and this was during the age of Taurus. And any culture older than like 4,000 years is going to have some of this, bovine imagery because of, surviving and existing all that time from that age. And so, yeah, there's special relationships with cows in many of the old traditions and many of the old religions. And it's a gratitude for a symbiotic relationship, because these animals, because of their strength and how docile they are, despite their size and their strength, they've been of enormous contribution and enormous help to humanity. So, plowing the fields, the milk, the fertilizer, and working with cows and being close to cows and this domestic, relationship with this species and our species has really delivered a lot of bounty to our species and really changed the way that we eat and the way that we do agriculture. So it's very much connected with this Taurus energy. And I thought it was interesting, some of these words, these terms, the gunas, or the qualities of Kappadosha, were used to describe this energy thousands of years ago, between 3,000 and 5,000 years ago. And I wanted to show them here because it's so interesting how they relate so well with the Taurus energy. So heavy, slow, steady, dense, obvious, right? Not subtle. It's obvious. It's right there, plain sight. They're cool. They're turbid, static, viscous, right? Sticky. So these are all words that describe Kappadosha and can describe Taurus as well. So let's see, do you have anything there? So, so this Taurus time of year, it's just gorgeous. People, like, sweaters are coming off, like skin is bare. Those of us who live in warmer climates, we've got fruits, we've got, it's warming up, the parks are full, people are going out for walks, people are playing, people are gardening. It's lovely to see everyone out again. And especially in these northern climes. And we're getting busy. If you look around, like, all of these little animals are chasing each other around, they're Twitter-pated. It's this beautiful mix between, like, everybody's happy and free and falling in love, and everybody's working really hard to A, cultivate fields, and B, to, like, finish what they started. It's funny because, so if we look at the Taurus time of life, like, so, all right, Aries time of life is the baby, right? Who cries for what it wants and gets what it wants. And then the Taurus time of life is when you have discovered, like, the blanket, the pacifier, the teddy bear, the hug, the words of comfort, whatever it is. This is how Taurus manifests. This is like Taurus gift to us, is the coping mechanism and also the experience of comfort. And so we've also got these seasonal celebrations, which I think are so interesting and correspond so well with Taurus. So there's Beltane, happy Beltane. And it is, Beltane was the bonfires that people would have and the parties that people would have after spending all day planting in the fields. And it was the ceremony to bless these fields that had just been planted. So it was blessings and abundance and festivities. Arbor Day, celebrating like the beautiful, greenery of the world. Earth Day, of course, right? Who's earthier than Taurus? And we're celebrating not Earth as the celestial concept. We're celebrating like the nitty gritty, down and dirty, what we need to do to survive, like the foliage, the trees, the rivers, the wildness of nature, and what we have to do to take care of this beautiful biosphere, the way that Taurus takes care of like our living essence too. So Mother's Day, right? Again, fertility, just celebration, appreciation, AIDS, right? Ramadan is over, the fasting period is over. It also corresponds with the Feast of the Ascension, but it's not really a feast. But Eid is, right? And a lot of people right now this time of year are also celebrating graduation, right? They've worked hard, play hard, right? They've worked to reach this point and they got it and they're celebrating. And then finally, 420, because who is more of a Taurus than Mary Jane, right? I mean, it's like the hardiest, sturdiest flower in the world. You can like let go and have a good time. It's a party plant, right? Everybody's just like sitting back, chill, peace and love, very Venusian. And then you get the munchies and you have a snack. Like Mary Jane is a Taurus. All right, which brings me to the fixed star Algol. Algol is said to be a demon star. It comes from the Arabic astrology tradition. And the word Algol means demon or spirit or spirits, because the word Algol also means alcohol. So if you speak Spanish and English, you can hear it. Algol, alcohol, alcohol. And Algol is, it's actually 3 stars. I tried to sort of recreate it here, but it's actually 3 stars and it appears to wax and wane. It's been a bad omen, it's been considered a bad omen for a long time. It's associated with violence. And particularly, it represents the head of Medusa. It's the Perseus constellation, and he's holding her decapitated head after everything we did to this poor woman. I hate this mythological story so much. But here we are. And the moral of the story with this is don't lose your head, because historically the star has also been, it's been associated with violence. It's been associated with decapitation. But if we also look at this double meaning, with it being spirits or alcohol or toxic substances or psychoactive substances, then we can see how it's also a message, don't lose your head, right? So you graduated, yet you accomplished what you're so proud of yourself. You're gonna celebrate. Don't throw it all away though and get yourself into trouble, right? Don't lose your head. So that's my wish for all of you this spring and summertime. And I also wanted to bring in the concept in Ayurveda of pragya apag is mistake of the intellect. It's not like in some other traditions where when you do something wrong and you know it's wrong, it's a sin and you're going to suffer for it. This is a mistake of the intellect. Your better judgment, your higher self knows better, and you made a mistake, right? And the best thing is to just get back on track. It's not all, it's all it isn't for naught if you mess up. It doesn't mean that it's not a binary. It's not a one or a zero. It's not either doing or not doing. It's a process. It's a road. And so I wish you all the very best on this journey through springtime, on this road of, groundedness, sensuality, celebration. We have all of these beautiful elements here. And I hope that everyone makes the most of them and enjoys this Taurus time of year. If you would like to find out more about your chart, find out more about any of the natural wellness modalities that I use, or if you just like to say hi, feel free to reach out. My information's here. I'm Dr. Cassandra, and I wish you all the best. Take care. Bye.